his work is out of the, it's out of the ordinary.
I think he's one of the few real Impressionists in the country. The list of real Impressionists would be, in the whole history of the country, would be not more than a dozen painters. And he's one of them.
You know, he's not, I mean, we've over the years have seen the great rise of Van Gogh's, you know, world acclaim. And I see similar amounts of honesty and sharing from Paul as I do in Van Gogh's.
Post-Impressionism was the happy reign of color, a period of 30 years around the turn of the century that was so ebullient with ideas, individuals, and masterpieces that it is difficult to reduce it to a common denominator. The art of Paul Martel reflects a mixture of European and American Impressionist influences. Since his death in 1944, his paintings have been all but forgotten, but with the current revival of interest in Impressionism and its aftermath, it's time to look at the works of Paul Jean Martel. Paul Jean Martel was born in 1879 to Jacqueline and Victor Martel in Laeken, Belgium. His father, Victor, had a butcher's shop. For reasons now unknown, Jacqueline and her then 10-year-old son sailed to Philadelphia in 1889, where she went to work as a cook on the Fells estate in Chestnut Hill. Shortly after, she changed employers to cook for a well-known patron of the arts, Mrs. Charlotte Pendleton in Chestnut Hill, who used Paul as a messenger boy. It was Mrs. Pendleton who noticed the boy's passion for painting and urged his mother to send him to an art academy. In 1897, he entered the Brussels Royal Academy of Fine Arts. Martel was 18 and among the best. He studied under Stallert and van der Stappen, who was director of the academy at the time. He was in the company of artists like August Olef, Lehmann, Thea van Rijsselberg, and Verhagen. He was surrounded by the best artists of his day, and it was a great honor to have one of his works nominated for the Prix de Rome. In 1906, Martel chose to return to America and continue his art education in Philadelphia at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts, where he studied under Thomas Anschutz. The legacy of this extraordinary group of artists' association with the Academy was the Pennsylvania School of Landscape Painting. Martel, being better trained, well-read, and more traveled than many of his fellow students at the time, made friends easily with this group of artists. In 1908, he was sponsored for a key membership in the venerable Philadelphia Sketch Club, where he would frequently exhibit. The rigorous academic training surfaces in his skillful portrayal of the human body and in his official portraits. His interest, though, lay in the use of color, and his was the mastery of the use of color to suggest the form. Paul Martel met and married Muriel Remont of Moylan, Pennsylvania in 1911. Shortly after their marriage, they left for Europe. On returning to Belgium, Martel renewed his friendship with his colleague, Auguste Olef, and settled in Ottergem on the outskirts of Brussels, where Olef was living. In 1915, a son Remy was born to them, which must have made these lean war years seem even more trying. By the time the war ended, Martel's talent was becoming increasingly acknowledged by the prestigious juried exhibitions he was invited to show in. At the urging of his wife, Muriel, who wanted to return to America, Martel went back to Philadelphia in 1923 to reestablish himself again in the city he had left 12 years prior. Through his life, Martel kept the integrity of his philosophy. He never gave way to fashion. He had numerous exhibitions with well-known galleries in Philadelphia and also showed at the Philadelphia Sketch Club and the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. He exhibited with Redfield, Higgins, Cassatt, and Metcalf.
But he was at that time, and it's evident if you look at the reviews, and he was a post-impressionist, much more advanced than anything that was coming out of Paris and being shown in Philadelphia at that time, which was basically, I would say, second or third rate impressionism. And Paul's work was without any question beyond that. I don't think you can actually categorize Paul as a post-impressionism. I think you have to categorize him as a Martellist.
To view his work is to witness those lively experimental post-impressionist years. His canvases relay all the expansion, the color, and the evolution of that period. He borrows from the neo-impressionists in his use of loose, stippled imagery and glowing pigments from the Nabis in the flattened, simplified areas of color. He develops his own version of pointillism, using it to further dissolve the imagery. His work captures the soul of the moment, no past, no future, just the present moment. His love for painting stayed with Paul Martel to the end. His work is sensual, sensitive, vibrant, calm, joyful. It sustained him. It was the passionate love of his life. Paul Jean Martel died in 1944 at Jefferson Memorial Hospital, a kind, intellectual man who commanded great respect from his contemporaries.